You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Welcome all and welcome in. We are back. It's the Insight NFL show, giving you a nice little smaller bite-sized version with our Captain's Huddle. We drop this one each week. If you are new here, this is for the SuperCoach lens where we go through a couple of nice vice captain options that you can use that looping method and take advantage of the format, and also just some straight captain options if that doesn't pan out with the vice captain. Thursday, 30th October, this one is dropping, so you've got nice 24 hours before the games kick off with Miami up against the Ravens. There is 4 teams on bye this week: Eagles, Jets, Browns, and Bucks. So we are limited, but there is still some good options there. But Secko, how are you feeling? We just came off our big trade talk show for the week. A bit surprising that we don't have JJ McCarthy in these options. I'm purely joking, but yeah, how are you feeling as we look forward?
Well, unfortunately, we've lost our loop. Everyone who held on to him has been able to use JJ, probably his most valuable he's ever been, being able to bring on a VC score. But no, he's trending towards being in. We may have heard something by the time you're listening to this pod. So yeah, but yeah, I think he's definitely going to play. There's no secret there. Wentz is on IR and they have no backup really of note. So yeah, he'll be in. But looking forward to talking some captain's huddle and captain's options. It's always good to frame my my plan for the week.
It's always good, and if you can hit on your captain's options, like, it just makes you so much points. Like, we went through our unlimited winner for week 8. He put up 581. I think it was 36th best out of all in SuperCoach. Had a -8 from his defense, but he had JT with the captain, and he had 72. So many more extra points on offer there, so it really can give you a nice advantage. Vice captain option, Secko, and I'm going to take the 2 right off the top. They are both in the same game. First game of the week. Thursday night football over in the States, Friday morning here for us in Oz. Lamar Jackson, again, if you did bring him in this week, he's a very nice, easy vice captain option. I would tamper with a little bit of expectations after his first game back from that hamstring. I believe he missed 4 games, and I can't expect him to be running a whole lot in this one. But they are up against the Dolphins. They have been horrid. As a defense, besides last week, which was an absolute blip in their radar against the Falcons, who just couldn't get anything going. But Lamar, very easy one. If you don't have Lamar, but do have his running mate in Derrick Henry, again, I think this could be a very big Derrick Henry spot for him up against the Dolphins. He'll do what Bijan couldn't do. I think he'll get multiple touchdowns, and he could be a nice little pod for a vice captain options with a high floor, or high ceiling rather, up against the Dolphins defense. But Secko, how are you feeling about the Ravens before getting into your top vice captain options?
Yeah, I think Derrick Henry's a smash. The only person that we saw pretty much all year not dominate was Bijan Robinson last year, dominate the Dolphins, and it's in Baltimore, I believe. Yeah, Lamar, I think you're spot on. Lamar is still going to be good at running the offense, get him into scoring position regularly, but he won't take off and run as much, I don't think, just to watch that hammy. So I think there's a chance for sort of a couple of touchdowns. 100 yards and 2 touchdowns is already 44 points. VC worthy. So anything on top of that is obviously he's the kind of game where you could have 180, and like Rico Dowd 200 plus yards against them. So anything could happen. And if it does, the VC is just, you're sitting pretty all week.
Yeah, absolutely. And Secko, for you, in terms of other vice captain options, there is a couple of other names, but which one really sticks out to you, and one that you might even be looking to go with for this week?
Yeah, it's always big to go quarterbacks. Obviously, we've got some options there. There's Drake May against Atlanta. Made Tua look really good last week, which is hard to do. But another one I really love is CMC. I know he was the captain for a few people last week, and he didn't really turn on. He didn't get touched in the first quarter, which is unbelievable. But hopefully with Purdy back against New York, who Saquon had his best game of the year, I think it was his best game of the year against them last week, and actually looked like sort of prime Saquon for the first time all year. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if CMC just has a day out, and I'd be very, very much looking forward to him to have a bounce back spot against a pretty bad defense to running backs.
Yeah, I think CMC might be the play that I'm going with as well. Yeah, massive bounce back spot. But Drake May, CMC, very good options there. Jamar Chase, I have here. They are up against the Bears. There should be a lot of points thrown around in this game. Both defense. We know the Bengals defense is absolutely horrid. The Bears have. I mean, last week they looked absolutely horrid. So we'll have to wait and see. But this is purely if Joe Flacco plays. He is day to day with that shoulder injury. If he is ruled out, I'm not going to be putting the VC on Jamar Chase. That just definitely limits his upside there. Another name, if you do want to look into the running back room as a vice captain options, Josh Jacobs. Again, it might be a little bit hard, a little bit of a harder pill to swallow because he's dealing with that calf injury, but up against the Panthers, massive bounce back spot again for him. And we saw what James Cook did against the Panthers last week. So yeah, that offense, he's probably a touchdown guarantee if he does play for the most part. But yeah, you might just want to temper expectations. But he is a good option there if you don't have CMC.
He should be. Yeah, he should be back to. I mean, it's another week away from that calf injury. They rested him. They didn't really have to use him much against the Steelers down the street. Everyone was sort of. I heard a lot of complaints on social media about why was he being held back and why is Wilson is now a timeshare whatever. They just didn't have to use him. They were up by pretty comfortably in that last quarter and a half. They were able just to bench him, make sure his calf was good. They were going to win the game anyway. They've got aspirations to go deep. But yeah, a week removed, I think there's a very good chance he could run wild over the Panthers, which has been done by a few teams this year.
We hope so. Secko, before we move on to captain, we do have a couple more little things to talk about. How do you feel about Bijan against the Patriots? I know the Pats, they've been kind of tough against the run. And I mean, he put up 8 points last week in an absolute smash spot, so we thought. Do you think this is another bounce back, or is it hard to trust?
It's funny. In last night's episode, we went through the team of the week. Jalen Ramsey, and he had JT as the captain, which was 144 points. I had Bijan, which was 16 points. And there's 128 difference. He beat me by about 160 in the end. So that's how big a captaincy score can be, because he was the best and I was probably about the worst. Dropped about 2,000 spots. But Bijan, look, I can't do it. I can't do it. But if you have the balls, I mean, we know that he's that good that usually he can't keep a good man down too many times in a row. So, yeah, I mean, if it's vice captain only, I wouldn't do it as a captaincy. I wore the captaincy last week after taking Justin Jefferson, thinking that Wentz wasn't going to have a completely busted left shoulder. And I was sort of, a bit silly. I should have gone Drake May last week, but yeah, he's an option, but I wouldn't do it personally. It's very, very, very daunting after last week.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I'd be the same there. Another guy that you probably also want to fade, and this one might be a bit harder pill to swallow, but Jonathan Taylor, after coming off, that massive 72 that he put up last week, they are coming up against the Steelers. The Steelers are a horrid defense for everything except the run. That's the only thing they have been able to stop this year so far. So again, I think they will really try and put a lot of pressure on that defensive front and loading that box up with JT and just putting it in Danny Dimes' hand, and hopefully Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay can perform better than what they have been doing over the last couple of weeks. So yeah, it is hard to swallow. Secko, are you kind of with that too on JT? Like, I know it's just, it'd be hard for a lot of people to do if they had him on their squads.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of, unfortunately on this podcast, I've turned a bit into the JT hater, which I'm not. I love him so much, but that's the reason why. I'm not going to fall into FOMO because that's the only reason why I'd get him. But yeah, I'm with you. He's due for an average game. Let's put it that way. That's all I'm going to sort of say on that. Against a good defense, again, he can come out and have 120 yards rushing and 20 yards on a couple of catches and still end up on 32 points. It's not a great captaincy score. So he'll always just be kept out of the end zone to not be a great a locked and loaded every week captaincy option. So just as you said, temper expectations on him. He could just be a good game, not an amazing game after so many good amazing ones.
And moving on to the straight captain options. I mean, for me, I've got his jersey in the back, but Allen up against Kansas City. It's the later Monday morning slate, so 7:25 for here in Queensland, 8:25 for later guys down there. But I mean, this game, there's just so much. The Bills always have the Chiefs' number when it comes to regular season. Doesn't matter anywhere near as much in the playoffs because we just keep or the Bills always keep losing to Mahomes in that spot. But I mean, and even in turn, Mahomes, you can throw him in here as well. Like there is just massive shootout potential in this one. The passing game, the only thing for the Bills has been pretty rough. So for Josh Allen, I think he can. I mean, the previous game, I think against the Chiefs last year, he ran one in himself for 30 yards out, 4th down. Got to have it, and that was to seal the game. Like I could see him have a couple of Superman moments like that, and getting some scores on the ground himself. And then Mahomes is like in turn, we just know their rushing attack is horrid, so it has to be on Mahomes and those receivers through the air in this one. And yeah. Bills in turn, their corners have been pretty banged up and outperforming as well. But how do you feel, Secko, on this one? If you've got the option of both, which one would you choose between Josh Allen and Mahomes for this week?
I like where your head's at with the Josh Allen thing because I feel like he turns it on for the better oppositions, for the bigger games. He has to do more. When he has to do more, he does it. Like he's just that kind of player. There's 3 or 4 players like that, and the bloke on the other side is one of them. But in Buffalo, I just feel like it's that kind of situation where when he has to get up, he just manages to find a way to do it. It's like this year so far. He's only had one game against a really good opponent where he had to stand up, and that was Baltimore, where he scored 77 first game. We didn't have Jets walkover, Miami walkover, Saints walkover. Patriots was a good game. They actually took it up to them, and he had to try and come back, and he didn't quite get there. Scored a 40, whatever. Atlanta, boring game. Carolina, boring game. So he's the kind of player who gets up for the big opposition, and there's no bigger than Kansas City for him and them at this era. Now that Kansas City's back up as well, so I'd definitely lean Josh Allen if I had the two, only because I just think he has to have a big game. High score against them of 72, average against Kansas City of 49.2. It all sort of seems to it all lends towards high upside.
Yeah, it does. Hopefully so. And other options for you, Secko, besides that that Allen and Mahomes stack there in that game. Again, we do have a lot of teams on bye. So what are the next couple of options that you feel if you don't have access to either of those quarterbacks?
Yeah, so you're obviously looking for late games with captaincy. Obviously, any of the vice captains we said are straight captaincy options if you want to just back them in. Namely, sort of Derrick Henry, CMC would be my hobby too. But Puka Nakua is one. He's just such a good player. We've seen it all year. Outside of the injury in week 7, he's missed, and then by last week. The only issue there is game script. Coming back from injury, could he be limited when the game's out of hand, sort of thing? I doubt it. He's the kind of player that wouldn't want that. But McVay might be just strong enough to say, sit down. We've got Tutu Atwell and Jordan Whittington to run this game out. But yeah, he's definitely an option because he's just so. It's going to be pretty easy for Stafford against the Saints, in my opinion. And the other one is CD. CD Lamb play on Monday night, last game of the week. Cardinals defense is they try. let's be nice. Let's be nice that they try. They find a way to do some really dumb things every single week. Namely, the Titans game a couple of weeks ago when they couldn't have lost it, but they did. And CD Lamb, Dak bounced back. Spot for him. I really think there's a chance this could be like a CD, now fully back from his injury, fully unhampered, no secondary to try and beat. This could be a real big one. So if you got CD last game of the week, it could be a very enticing little Monday captaincy.
It could be good. Could be a monster, and at home in the Dome as well, which we absolutely love to see. Dak, he has been, we mentioned on last night's show, he has been a little bit of he's been lights out besides the last week up against Denver. Those guys are a very tough defense with the Cardinals. They should leak a lot of points. So yeah, I like City a lot this week. I think he will be getting a couple little wages on him. And in terms of looping options, Secko, gamble responsibly, I have to say that as well. But looping options, any of the players on bye, of course, if you do have them,
Yep.
Saquon Barkley, Emeka Egbuka, Jalen Hurts, that's very easy. You can't do the old faithful wet sock. JJ McCarthy, like we mentioned. I mean, for me, I've got Harold Fannin Jr. I've got him on bye. So again, Cleveland, Quinshon Judkins, if you have him as well, that's some easy ones that you can just loop over, because if they are on that bye, they count as the final game of the week. Makes it nice and easy to get that. And then in turn, any injured guys that you might have been holding on to, Marion Hampton, I think his roster percentage is over like 30%. So if you are holding on to him, that's a very easy one. Any other names, Secko, that I've kind of forgotten that stick out to you, or is that pretty much it?
No, I'm trying to think who's on bye, who's in those teams that sort of, there's no one you've really missed who'd be on bye. And then of the injured guys being held, there's not really a lot of premium guys being held through injury. Now Lamar's back. Some may have been holding him, unlikely. So, yeah, hopefully you can find it. If not, it might be a few more people having to go straight C's this week, and we've gone through plenty of options. So go back and listen again if you're watching this or listening to this, and go through all the ones we had for vice captaincy as well, because there's plenty of options, plenty of really good matchups, even though it's a limited week with buys.
Love it, guys. That will do us here for the Captain's Huddle for week 9 in SuperCoach. Again, if you did miss our last night's trade talk show in terms of SuperCoach, and also our players to buy low and sell high in traditional fantasy lens, both the links to those videos will be in the description below. And we'll be back tonight to run it all through it again with our week 9 primer. The last show of the week, we'll be going through a whole heap of injuries as well to make sure that you're equipped to make the right decisions. And Secko and I will have our starts of the week, so that'll be good to see how we both go again with that one. So thanks heaps for tuning in. We'll see you guys there.
Goodbye.